Hi, it's Emily Leiphart of Art from the Heart, and in this Simon Says Stamp Wednesday Challenge video, I'm creating a card for the June 4th, 2014 Father's Day or Masculine Challenge. I'll be using the Treats Blueprint stamp set from Tim Holtz and Stampers Anonymous, specifically the soda bottle. There are a number of sentiments from the Simple Saying stamp set that would work for this card and the challenge. I'll be watercoloring with Distress ink, so I'm going to use the Distress watercolor cardstock. I'm so addicted to this stuff. It has a textured side and a smooth side. Since I'm stamping on it, I'll be using the smooth side. This is not to say that you can't stamp on the textured side, because I've done that several times, but the details tend to come out cleaner if I stamp on the smooth side. I place the stamps on the cardstock to determine placement, then ink up the stamps with Ranger Archival ink. This ink is waterproof, so it's perfect for watercoloring. First, I wet the cardstock to make it easier for the colors to flow across the paper. I also make sure the brushes I'm coloring with are a bit wet. I'm using Distress ink in tumbled glass to create an outline around the bottle. I don't have to worry about it being neat. Then I take broken china to add some depth to that outline. Once in a while, you'll see me using a larger brush to add more water to the cardstock. I'm also cleaning in between colors. I felt I was using too many colors on this card to leave them all out on my craft sheet, but you could always do that. It's just a personal preference. I think if I was only using 3 to 4 colors, I could keep track of them all, and that would be okay. But in this case, I used 10 colors in total, so it would have gotten really confusing and messy. To color the bottle, I used shabby shutters and then peeled paint. For the inside circle, I used white persimmon. I picked up the wrong brush to color the ring, and when I switched it to a watercolor brush, you can see how much nicer the festive berries flows onto the paper. I added a bit of rusty hinge on the inside circle and around the bottom edge of the ring. Next, I use all 3 brights to color in the straw. Then I use mustard seed to color in the star. After that, I bring back tumbled glass to widen the background. I highlight the soda pop label with mustard seed, and I didn't like that tiny splotch of red underneath, so I decided to add some ripe persimmon and festive berries to hide it, and also to draw the eye from the star into that opposite corner. When that's done, I decide that the sentiment needs some color. First, I add a bit more peeled paint to the top of the bottle. Then I use bundled sage across the sentiment, and I really wanted to use shaded lilac on this card, so I add just a bit around the edges to finish. I use a tissue to pull out some of the water on the edge of the card. I could have left this to dry as is, but I wanted the colors to look more diluted, and it also helps the card dry faster since I'm so impatient. After leaving the card to dry naturally for about 15 minutes, I use my heat tool to dry it the rest of the way. Again, I'm awfully impatient when I'm creating. I want to be able to move on to the next step right away. This cardstock is very thick and can withstand a lot of water. It does curl when you dry it, but if you can, and if you're patient, you can leave it under a heavy book or binder to flatten it out once it's dry. I've done this on occasion when I need to walk away from a project, but that's rare. I create a card base from Simon Says Stamp's green apple cardstock. This complements the green bottle perfectly. Since the Distress watercolor cardstock is A2 sized, I need to trim it down. Next, I choose a couple of patterns from Studio Calico's Printshop 6x6 paper pad. My friend Jocelyn Olson, who's the guest designer for the Wednesday Challenge this month, has an amazing knack for layering pattern papers. She hand cuts her layers, and I wanted to try her technique. I fought every urge to use my paper trimmer, and I'm glad I did. My layers never would have looked this good if they had perfectly straight edges. To assemble this card, I add a lot of foam tape to the back of the watercolor panel to make sure it stays as flat as possible. After adhering all the layers together, I use my nail to lift up various sections of the pattern paper so it's not completely flat. The last thing I need to do is adhere all these layers to the card base. The first time the front panel wasn't parallel to the card base, so I had to adjust it. After that, my card is done. I hope you'll join us at the Simon Says Stamp Wednesday Challenge this week. Please refer to the supply links below if you're interested in any of the products I used in this video. You can also visit my blog for stills and more information about my cards. Thanks so much for watching.